pass the LED baton to the next electrician in the relay race. Welcome to Simplified Sparky Marketing. I was having a cracking week this week, apart from one job, which I'm going to get into. But the main reason of this podcast today, or what I want you to take from it, is it's not always the system. It's not always your fault. And I feel like there's just certain individuals that you shouldn't do work for, or they shouldn't make it through the hurdles that you put in place. And this one nearly did, but fortunately she didn't. So what had happened was the week I had was brilliant. There was loads of EV charger installs, bits and pieces, very profitable days. And this one particular job was a really good gap filler. It was profitable, quoted quite well. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why that person ended up not going ahead. So this job came in on a Saturday morning and I happened to be at the laptop. So it came in through the website and it was a very simple job. It was just replacing one LED baton, which was allegedly installed in 2023. So only a few years old. So what I said was send me some pictures, etc., etc. She sent back pictures and I was like, okay, that's easy. And I wanted to give some options with the quote as well, which I did. So I gave her the information on the quote, sent it across. And she was like, okay, cool, that's really good. Is there any chance we can have a quick chat? Now, I don't usually talk to people if I'm dealing with them over email. But in this case, I did. And initially, when I replied to her email first, she was like, oh, thanks so much for the rapid response. She was very grateful for the response. So just remember that part. Then I went to the phone call. I called her up, explained everything. And then she said there's actually two battens in the kitchen. And I was like, well, that's going to look a bit weird if we replace one baton, because they were underneath kind of like a glass enclosure. It was weird. It was kind of like a troffer in an office setup where you had the diffuser and the baton sat above it, but this was kind of like a feature in the kitchen. So I was like, look, if we replace that one, it's not going to be identical to the other one because I don't know what brand is under there. So I would ideally like to replace the two of them so it's going to look uniform when you turn on the light. And I think what was happening in the kitchen was the light was consistently blinking as LEDs do when it was on the way out. So it was just a hindrance to work in the kitchen or do anything in the kitchen. And it was really irritating her. So that was fine. I was like, okay, we'll swap the LED baton. And there was work on the switchboard as well, which I mentioned. So then I said, what we can do is, look, I know you want this sooner rather than later. And my schedule is quite packed at the moment. So what I said was, I looked at my schedule in front of me and I was like, look, I can probably do next Tuesday. And then she said, oh, is there any chance you can do further in the week? And I was like what day? And she's like, can you do Wednesday? So I looked at the schedule and I had a Tesla charger installed on Wednesday. And I was like, okay, I should be able to slot that in on Wednesday afternoon. So I accommodated her. I said, look, I've got a job beforehand. I don't know how long it's going to take. It could be 4 hours, could be 6 hours, but it will be Wednesday afternoon. Is that okay? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, it's most likely going to be between 1 and 2. It'll be the afternoon essentially. So that was fine. Fast forward to Wednesday just passed and I knew I was going to that job. So I stocked up, went to the suppliers in the morning, grabbed the LED baton and some bits for the Tesla job as well. Then I went and I did the Tesla job and it was a bit more than I expected in the Tesla job. I quoted for it. Don't you worry about that. It was just, it took a bit more time. So I was like, okay, shit, it's going to be like 1 or 2 when I get there. But I was just flat chat all day and I never looked at my emails. So what had happened in the meantime was at 1:01 p.m. she calls. She was like, what time is he meant to be coming at? And I purposely turned off the booking reminder on this job on purpose because I didn't want her getting an email triggering saying I'm coming at X time or this window when I wasn't going to potentially arrive in that window, which is exactly what happened. So I left it off and I was like, I've told her it would be the afternoon. So she should be bracing between 12 and 4. However, it's slightly my fault. I don't know what the panic or pressure was. If she had told me she had to go somewhere or something like that, I would have been like, okay, let's definitely lock it in for that time or I'll let you know. So anyway, I was working away and I packed up my stuff, went to service mate, went to navigate the job, went to go to the second job. And I navigated to the job and sent a text message as well. Nothing was responded to or anything like that. And I arrived in the job. Now, mind you, this job was probably 25 minutes from the job I was on. And the job I was on was about 2 to 3 minutes back roading back to my house. So I drove all the way into close to the city, and I was literally parked across from the house, and I was grabbing the stuff out of the van, and I said, hang on, I just got to double check her name so I get it right. Went back into service mate, checked the name. I was like, cool. And as I checked it, I clicked on the notes, and it had 2 notes put in there from the assistant. And one of them said she called at that time, like a minute past 1. And then wanted to know what time at a minute past 1. And I missed all this. And then at 2:05 or something like that, it was like she's called up again wanting to cancel the appointment due to the treatment that she has received. And I was like, for fuck's sake, you cannot keep everybody happy. And I looked at the timeline, and I was like, I feel like she was trying to wiggle out of it from the start. Even when we spoke on the phone, she wasn't that happy about the pricing. And I feel like this was an out that she used to get out of the job. Fair enough, I should have been checking my emails and stuff like that. I was just super busy. 9 out of 10 people, 99 people out of 100 would generally be cool with this. The clients I tend to work for are excellent people. And this was an exception, I think, in the matrix, a glitch in the matrix. And if this was years ago, it would have really upset me. But I'm aware that it's like that was just a shit person to work with, because like, I had told her it was going to be the afternoon, and I told her, I'm pretty sure I told her it could have been any time in the afternoon. I'd have to double check all that. But I got to the job, and I was like, I had made the money for the day. The targets that I set, I had made that money in the first, 6 hours of the day, 6 or 7 hours of the day, and I wasn't asked with this job. So when I got to the job, I could have knocked on the door and asked her what's the situation, what's going on. But I was like, you know what, I don't need that client in my life. And I just got back into the van and drove away and just marked that job as unsuccessful and walked away, because I felt there was something deeper that she didn't go ahead for some reason. And sometimes we blame the system. Like I was like, fuck, I should have done this or I should have done that. Everything else is streamlined. But for that one job, typically I turned off the booking reminder, and she didn't get that reminder. And if she did get it, she would have been waiting for me between 12 and 1 or something like that. Because that's usually what I do, is I slot an afternoon job and I'll slot the morning job. And with this as well, when I was doing loads and loads of Teslas, when they were coming through the woodwork, when I was first listed with Tesla, and I had a process in place where the lead would come in, I would have specific forms that would go out. I would have specific questions in the forms. And maybe 1 in every 20 clients would come through, and they'd complain that the form is too difficult for them to do, and it's not a good system. And I would get down on myself, and I would say, fuck, maybe I need to change the system. This is broken. Should I tweak that? And it's the minority that were doing it. It's actually it's a user problem, not actually my problem, because the other 19 people of 20 were well able to fill out the form, give me the details, and then receive the quote and lock the job in. It was these minority of people that were making my life difficult, because they were like, no, I can't do this. Can you not just come out to the job? All that is it's a lazy client who essentially just wants you to waste your time, go out, kick around. And it's becoming extremely common as well. And it's a podcast in itself that's coming in regards to qualification of leads, because we all know at the moment Tesla chargers are red hot, and there's a lot of curious people out there that just want to waste your time. But I just wanted to pump this podcast out today and just kind of to reiterate that it's not always you, it's the end user. It's like, if that client was a decent person, they were even offered by the assistant that takes the phone calls that we can call Alan immediately and check where he is and get you time. And she was like, no, I've been treated so badly. And it's funny when you look back on the email chain that she essentially has said, like, thanks so much for the rapid response, and like, thanks for the info about this, thanks for the info about that. But when it came to the part where it was about money, doing the job, I feel like in the meantime, in the last couple of days in between the lead and the locking it in, she had spoken to other people and they're probably like, we can do it for cheaper or something like that, because I felt she was very price conscious. Yeah, it's not always you. It's generally them. If you've got a bad gut feel or you just get a bad client, it's not always your fault. And look, I could have done better with this, but she just happened to slip through with the booking reminder. That would have given her some insight into the times. But it just goes to show the importance as well of having these systems in place, because I make sure that the booking reminder is set at 24 hours out. They get a reminder, because something like that, it's like when you get a dental appointment and it's 6 months down the track, they send me a text message like 3 days before, and only for sending that text message, I would not remember that. So it's very important you do put the booking reminders in. I'll put my hand up with that, but hopefully you'll take something from this and not get too hard on yourself if you've got some shitty clients or they try to ruin your day. I'll catch you next week.